This is America in Space, a weekly news and information program on current events dealing with the space industry.
Welcome, and thanks for joining me today. I'm Dawn Meyer, Space Coast News Editor. We Earthlings have been fascinated by the prospect of life on Mars for over 100 years. There have been numerous science fiction books, short stories, and movies on the subject, and now we are actually coming closer to finding out if life actually exists or ever existed on Mars. What will it look like? Can we bring it back to Earth? The search for life on Mars is one of the most exciting scientific pursuits of our time. Astrobiologists at NASA are currently on the path to knowing whether or not there is life on Mars. Missions like the Perseverance rover and the Mars Sample Return are at the forefront of collecting evidence of life on Mars. 5 NASA scientists recently spoke about the many reasons why they are dedicating their time and energy to unlocking the mysteries of the intriguing red planet. Dr. Rebecca Macaulay-Wrench is a program scientist at the Planetary Science Division at NASA. Dr. Lindsay Hayes is a program officer and deputy program scientist at the NASA Astrobiology program. Dr. Mitch Schulte is a program scientist at the Mars Exploration Program and the Planetary Science Division at NASA. Dr. Michaela Munez-Fernandez is a Mars Sample Return Program executive at NASA. And Joe Parrish is the Mars Exploration Program Manager at the Jet Propulsion Laboratory.
Mars is the closest planet to us that was once potentially habitable. It's fascinating.
Mars is one of the most Earth-like places that is not Earth in our solar system.
Mars is a laboratory. It's where we can learn not only about another planet, but we can learn things about Mars that help us understand our own planet.
Mars is very important for us, for the humankind. Everything we are learning about Mars is going to help us to also understand the evolution of Mars and the evolution of Earth.
Mars is actually like the brother or the sister of Earth.
Whenever the solar system first formed, Mars and Earth didn't form that far from one another. They would have had similar climates, similar things kind of happening on their surface. And from space, it would have looked much similar to the blue marble that we have here at Earth.
And then all of a sudden, something happened. And Mars became a cold, dry, uninhabitable place. And Earth went the way that it went. And we want to find out why that happened and understand if maybe there were things living at Mars in the past or maybe even presently.
My background is also in astrobiology, right? So the search for life elsewhere. And so when I think about looking for life and looking for places that life may exist in the solar system, Mars is a particularly intriguing place because of how similar Mars is to the Earth.
It really is a great, relatively easily accessible place for us to go to study another planet, to help us understand more about our own planet and the solar system.
Mars is a planet that is within our reach. We know we are able to go there.
I feel very much now in Mars like the Wright brothers must have felt in 1903 when they made the transition from wondering if powered flight on Earth was possible to proving that it was, and then that inspired amazing things in the future. I think that we're in the process of pioneering technologies, scientific investigations, and other things that are going to teach us about Mars, but also teach us something about ourselves. We are in this wonderful cusp of the transition between the impossible and the mundane.
Is there life elsewhere? Are we alone? What could life be like on other places that aren't the Earth?
We're on the path to knowing whether or not there is in fact life on Mars.
We see that there were the conditions similarly between Earth and Mars, where we know life existed on Earth, to make us think that it's possible that life started on Mars.
We don't know what life on Mars would be like. First of all, there's not giraffes and rhinos and elephants running around on Mars. We know that much. So if there is life on Mars, it's likely to be small microbial life.
That microbial life could look very similar to life on Earth, and it could look very different. It's reasonable to start with the assumption that life would be something that requires liquid water. It's reasonable to start with an assumption that life would require carbon. Then things start getting a little less certain. It's probably unlikely that they form DNA and RNA, but it's possible. We're not going to find, walking, talking little green men kind of thing.
And so this is one of the reasons that we sent the Perseverance rover to look in the rocks for evidence that life might have left behind. So if life does exist, it's probably retreated deep underground where it has access to liquid water and the nutrients that it needs.
If we were to discover that there was life on Mars, we want to be careful in these two directions. One is that we want to make sure that we don't contaminate Mars or do anything that would hurt the life that was on Mars. That's our ethical responsibility as humans. Also, we need to be careful and make sure that that life on Mars is not hazardous and a threat to us on Earth. And so we're being very careful in the way that we manage our existing missions. And then in the Mars sample return mission, we actually will bring samples back from Mars. We're being extra careful to make sure that we don't expose Earth life to potential Mars life without making sure that it's been protected and ensured that it's not hazardous.
Any evidence that we might find of life elsewhere, whether or not it's ancient biosignatures of some life in the past, or whether or not it's an extant life that's surviving on some environment off the Earth somewhere, would be even more profound than, winning the World Series or the Super Bowl or anything like that, because it's not just the culmination of one small group of people, right? This would be the culmination of generations of work of scientists and cultures throughout time. This is something that in some ways everybody has been working on. And it would fundamentally change our understanding of the commonality of life throughout the solar system.
What a profound thing for us on Earth to know that we're not alone. And I would imagine that if it turns out there's life on Mars, as we explore farther and farther, perhaps outside of our solar system, we're going to find more and more life in other places. It's hard to imagine that of all the places in the universe, life is only present here on Earth. That just seems hard. And Mars is the first place where we would find out that that's not the case.
A discovery of life on Mars could revolutionize our understanding of the universe and our place within it, and be a profound and potentially transformative event for humanity. It's an amazing field of study. Thank you for joining me. Remember each Tuesday to join David Denault for America's Return to Space, and join me every Friday for America in Space. From the Florida Space Coast, I'm Dawn Meyer, Space Coast News Editor for About Space Today.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to share our program with your family and friends, and follow us on Facebook. Join us each week for news and information on America in Space.